Welcome back to another episode of Sinister's Horror Stash here on Welcome to Prime Time. I am your host, Alec Miller, and I am joined as always by Hunter. What's up, man?
How's it going, man? We are starting our 2024 kind of reviews with this interesting film that is on Shudder right now, Late Night with the Devil, starring David Dastmalchian.
Yeah, this is one I saw, which we're about to see the trailer, but I saw a trailer on TikTok and saw a couple of horror TikTok creators post about it, and I was like, okay, I mean, it looks great, and so I was really excited.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into the trailer.
Yes, let's get in the trailer for Late Night with the Devil right now.
We are back in 5, 4.
Now, here's Mr. Midnight, Jack Darrow.
Oh, good evening, Night Owls, and thank you for allowing me into your living rooms once again. Well, Night Owls, we've got a heck of a show in store for you tonight, and I'm very excited for you to see it all unfold before your very eyes. I really hope you love it. Gosh, I hope you love it. Please love it. Love it.
I'm trying to host a nationally syndicated talk show.
And I'm trying to help you keep it on the air.
We all know how important it is to keep our sponsors and affiliates happy, but in my humble opinion, there is only one person who really matters in this whole darn crazy business. And that is you, our viewer.
You're meddling with things you don't understand.
Whoa! Now, as you know, here on Night Owls, we think it's very important to keep an open mind. Please welcome Dr. June Ross Mitchell and Lily, the young subject of the book, Conversations with the Devil.
I really don't think it's a good idea, Jack. She's becoming more unpredictable.
That's a good thing. That's why we still do live TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned for a live television first as we attempt to commune with the devil.
Lily, can you hear me?
Good to see you again, Jack.
Lily, return to me.
This isn't about ratings anymore.
No one's going anywhere.
How could you let it happen, Jack? How could you let it happen?
Please be warned, anyone with young children in the room. What you're about to see
You okay, Jack?
is profoundly disturbing and shocking.
You get out there, Mr. Midnight. And you knock him dead.
All right, hell of a trailer, man.
Yeah, that was a great trailer. I remember seeing that on TikTok, and I was immediately like, I'm pretty sure I sent it to my girlfriend. Was like, we're watching this like when it comes out. I unfortunately was not able to see it in the theaters, but we were able to watch it a few weeks ago. And man, this movie, it lives up to the hype, man. Like I was hoping I didn't overhype it too much before I watched it, but I love this movie. This movie is already high up on my of my list for 2024.
Yeah, this movie is really unique. It's different. It's shot like an old school late night, like a Johnny Carson show would be. What I love is the use of most of the movie taking place as a live broadcast, but then the moments they go on break, the black and white footage makes it feel like you can easily be like, all right, they're backstage. This is not part of the movie. This is stuff we're not supposed to see. And then when they go live, you get to see it's all in color. They're putting on the show for the audience. David Dastmalchian is really freaking amazing in this movie. And he's slowly becoming like one of my favorite horror actors that just appear in random stuff. He was in The Boogeyman last year, which I thought was really good. This movie rules, man. I really, really love this movie. I like its style. I like how fast-paced it is. Once you get locked into the movie, it goes. Like, it never stops. There's no downtime. There's something always happening on screen. There's really no downtime in this movie. It's really fast-paced. The script is really, really tight. I do have slight problems with kind of the ending of the movie. I think it's really good, but there are a lot of questions that could have been answered. But overall, I love this movie.
Yeah, I like the style too. I like the '70s feel, and I like the idea and playing with that idea of the movie is you're seeing the entirety of this night of this episode of late night television. So I think it's about an hour and a half, and I think most late night TV shows are about an hour and a half. You're
Yeah.
getting that hour and a half feel while also with the moments and on for the commercial, it does feel very candid. It feels like you're watching something you're not supposed to be like you're seeing something you're not supposed to be seeing, and like those are your moments of levity. Like those are kind of your moments to chill in the beginning of the movie. But as the night continues to go forward and forward, then there is no reprieve from the anxiety you're feeling with it, because every time something's getting worse and worse, or something bad keeps happening, and it keeps getting worse, and it just keeps like building that anxiety that you get, and you don't have any reprieve in the commercial breaks after a certain point in the movie, which is like now you don't have anywhere to run.
The intensity is always up at a certain point.
Yeah.
That it's really good because it keeps the audience and it kept me on the edge of my seat. The
Yeah.
opening of this film, the way that its prologue is filmed as a documentary style, investigating the unexplained events that would happen on this episode, I thought was a really good way to introduce us to our main character. Who is
the
he?
world? It feels like
the world.
Yeah.
The world that's been built. They're also a way to not have exposition dumps from other characters.
Yeah.
Because you're framing it as, all right, people are watching this, people who are interested in this, this broadcast that would happen. Of course, they would make a documentary about this. So they play that at the beginning and be like, yeah, this is what leads up to this Halloween night. So it feels like it's connected to the story without just being a big exposition dump.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned earlier, the performance of David Dastmalchian is becoming one of those guys where he was kind of, before he was like a familiar face, like he had the very, very tiny role in The Dark Knight, and he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but then
he was Polka Dot Man in the Suicide
Polka
Squad.
Dot Man, and I think Polka Dot Man was kind of because that seems like such a throwaway character, but when you watch that movie, which we'll never cover here, so we'll just talk about it a little bit. The beauty of that movie, he's able to use his performance to build the script, build on the script of James Gunn, where James Gunn can create very like hard-nosed characters, but also have some very, very touching characters. And he's able to that's the moment where I was like, oh no, David Dastmalchian, he is he is a performer, and so I was really excited to see him kind of in a leading role in this movie. And this
might be my favorite performance of his.
Yeah, the fact that he's able to carry this like and get you to buy in wholeheartedly into like, okay, yeah, I'm sitting down and I'm watching an episode of Late Night, and I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it. And because of his charisma as the character of was it
Jack Delroy?
Jack Delroy. I wanted to say Jack, and I didn't go with it. Go with your gut. His charisma as Jack Delroy, and as this character who is desperate. So you can understand why, as the movie goes on, why he makes the decisions that he makes, and the lengths that people are willing to go to in order to have that moment of fame, even when things are going horribly wrong. They're willing to just. You're seeing his kind of devolvement into like you're becoming this like heartless kind of guy who's like, and before you're like, you think like, oh, this guy is genuinely caring. He seemed to have a great thing with his wife. But as the movie goes on, you're like, oh no, you are willing to do anything to keep what you have, and we find out later, possibly got rid of something, sacrificed something to get the things he had in the first place. So to see what he was willing to do to keep it, was definitely an interesting and fun path to go down. I think the movie, which I like the movie a lot, I do think the movie has moments where I'm like, it didn't really have a payoff. Like, I think, which we'll get to, the first guest, that's not my favorite payoff. Like, there's some cool.
Oh, I love that.
I don't think the payoff, like, you kind of like, it kind of happened, and then there was no, like, I guess any follow up. I don't know. I think like it was very much like done off camera. I just think there could have been, in my mind, that was the weakest part of the film. But like, having said that, that's because I have it very high up. I don't have very many problems with
Christo? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's probably like the only one, and just because I don't like where it ended. That's just, I didn't like the way that it ended, but that's fine. Like, that's literally the small. That's like this, like the smallest thing or the biggest thing I can complain about, and it's not that. It's not that serious.
Dude, shout out to Ian Bliss as Carmichael Haig. One of the so good in this movie. Carmichael Haig is in the movie. He is someone who was a former magician.
He's like a skeptic now. Yeah.
Yeah, he got tired of people falling for tricks and demonic possessions and things like that. So he is a skeptic now that they bring in to kind of be like, oh, that's how they did this. I did this when I was a magician. So he's pretty much like revealing all of the secrets. He's like that guy from Magic's Biggest Secrets finally revealed. That old TV show that was on like the CW for a while.
Yeah, and let me bring up a character and an actor that didn't deserve what he got in this movie, and that is Reese Atari playing Gus McConnell, who's like the sidekick to Jack Del Roy.
Yeah,
this guy did not
deserve fucked over.
Yeah, like he got the worst of it completely. So justice for Gus, damn it, because
justice for Gus.
But
I really love Laura Gordon as June Ross Mitchell, the psychologist. I thought she was really good.
Yeah, the girl who played Lily, Ingrid Torelli, really good. Her physical performance is fantastic.
Dude, her transformation from like the sweet innocent little girl to this demon possessed, like it was amazing.
But not even like sweet innocent girl, because she is completely off-putting from the minute you see her.
Dude, and she has a scene where they come in, and we're kind of jumbling around for a minute, but
we can kind of do that, I think, because it's fairly new, so we don't want to like go like super deep into the movie. But like,
but
kind of gush on it.
There's a great scene where she's brought on stage for the first time, and obviously she wouldn't know where to look. So she's looking right at the camera, like she's looking right at the audience, and she's like, "Hi, Jack, how are you doing?" And Jack goes, "No, you can talk to me. The cameras will film, everything else." But it's unsettling the way she's just looking at the camera, but she's talking to somebody else in her who's off to the side, and you're just focusing on her glare.
Yeah, I remember saying to my girlfriend when we were watching, I was like, she's making me feel weird. Like, I don't feel weird.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, like I feel like she's looking at me. Like she was looking in the camera. So and I leaned over to my girl and I was like, she knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. You put the devil on camera. You have the devil on camera on TV. Like, what are we doing? But no, this movie's great. I want to get, because I didn't even like pull up. I didn't even mention the director, Cameron Cairns, and Colin Cairns. Let me see. Have they done anything before this? No, I think this was also written by them as writers. But this was what is he? Hold on. Oh, I had the wrong. This is the writer. Sorry, I was looking at the writer. No, yeah, Cameron Cairns and Colin Cairns are the credited directors, and I guess this is their first film. They're writers and editors, but this is their first directorial. This is their directorial debut, and what a debut! And I feel like we're saying this a lot with a lot of like modern horror the most recent horrors. Every time like it's a new director, we're just like, they nailed it. Like they're doing great. Like keep doing. Like this is like a renaissance of horror. I really do feel like it is. Because you have like the Talk to Me guy, the guys who directed Talk to Me.
The Philippos.
Yeah, and even like someone as high regard now as Jordan Peele, where Jordan Peele's like his directorial debut is literally as a modern classic. Like these young directors.
His directorial debut won an Oscar.
Yeah, these young directors are coming in and they're just like they're putting everything into their film and
of course you have recently Chris Stuckman making Shelby Oaks, which just announced that Mike Flanagan is going to produce Shelby Oaks alongside Stuckman.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that because I love Flanagan. I watch anything Flanagan does. So, and Stuckman's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, this director Colin Cairns and Cameron.
What's
and
that
Colin
noise?
Cairns, that is my. Sorry, hold on. That's my dryer or my washer.
Oh, okay.
This is like
I thought
thing.
It was on my end.
No, it's on mine. My bad. I didn't even realize. Wasn't even paying attention to it. I'm so like numb to it at this point.
No, it's fine. 2, 1.
But yeah, man. Cameron and Colin Cairns, they did a great job in their directorial debut with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
As you said earlier, there's almost no let up once this movie gets going. It gets going, and I don't ever get tired of the. I never got tired of the format. I never got tired of film. I genuinely felt like I was having fun with. Like I was watching a late night show. That's why I like Gus's. The actor who plays Gus. His performance because it's funny. He's able to have these like moments with where it's like it's making you laugh. It does kind of take you off guard. Where you're like, I am watching a late night show, and then these horrible things start to happen.
Yeah. So let's get again. We're kind of just jumping around, telling you guys our favorite moment instead of going beat by beat because of the fact that like this is so new.
Yeah,
we're
so
just
fresh.
kind of free from with it. I love the backstory of the devil they used in here, the Abraxas, that Lily was a sole survivor of a mass shooting that this synthetic cult did. Which, by the way, we're seeing a lot of religious-based horror films. Like X was kind of had like religious themes behind it. Mm-hmm. When you look at who Maxine is and her father and the kind of the whole church thing like that. We had Midnight Mass by Mike Flanagan, which also deals with heavy religious.
We mentioned in our last video, Knock at the Cabin, which has a lot of biblical and religious ideology in it. So and I'm actually a fan of those. I like those movies that can that can do that because I'm someone who challenges. I like to be challenged on religion and stuff, and so I enjoy those films probably more than most people because some people look at it as preachy, but I don't look at it as preachy. I look at it as like an interesting story, interesting like, creative idea that you can kind of play with and have fun with. Yeah.
So speaking of Flanagan, did you hear the news that he is in talks with Blumhouse to direct an Exorcist movie?
I did, and I am in. I didn't watch the most recent Exorcism because I heard bad things about it.
It would be so much better if it wasn't tied to The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Some of the ideas are really cool, but the execution is like not good.
I think what made me like not see is when people were saying that the scariest moments from the movie were in the trailer. Because the reason why I wanted to go see it and why it felt like different was because the trailer. I think the trailer is fantastic. I know some people were hating on it, but I love
using the white effect that the original Exorcist trailer used.
Yeah, I love that trailer so much. Like I genuinely was. I thought it was going to be terrifying and creepy. So when I heard that kind of the scariest moments were in the trailer, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I don't need to.
The ideas of that film are there, but when you have to tie it in so directly to the Exorcist, where you have Chris McNeil come in, you have Reagan come back, I guess spoilers for a movie that came out last year, but you have to focus so much on that side of it that Leslie Odom Jr., who's supposed to be the lead, gets kind of pushed aside when they come in. And it sucks because he's actually pretty good in this movie.
Yeah, so
now back to Late Night with the Devil.
But yeah, like but we're saying like there's the whole like religious aspect. Like there's when it works, it works. And this is a movie where it works. Because the whole idea is that Jack Delroy, his show is struggling. They're struggling with the ratings, and they're kind of they might not get renewed. It's looking like it might not get renewed. So yeah, he's kind of trying to do what he can, and he puts together this idea of he's bringing in. It's gonna be 3 acts. First one is I believe you said Christo, who is a mentalist. He's someone that a mind reader, or a medium. Sorry, not a mind reader. Like a medium. He can communicate with the dead. Comes on the show, and like I've seen these before. Like back when I was a kid, on Maury, like they would have random people, or they would have different like shows where like every now and then there'd be one where like, oh, this person can communicate with the dead. So I was like, oh yeah, like that. And looking back, and you're like, oh, that was all BS. And he starts off where it's BS. He's making mistakes. He's completely getting things wrong.
Yep.
And you can see Christo getting upset, getting frustrated. This, like all this works for me. I know I mentioned that this was this is probably the weakest part of the film for me. That's all good. All the what we're getting. I'm enjoying seeing him fail because I'm like, yeah, that's like that. That was seem more realistic than what I would see on TV when it was like, oh, it was clearly people that are probably planning and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, back then in the 70s, they probably would try it, and he completely was messing it up. You could see him getting frustrated. And
one thing I love that they do is Christo has that scene where he's talking to the mother and daughter, and they're like, oh, I think he said your brother committed suicide, and he's at peace, blah blah blah. What I love that they do is during the breaks, you can see Haig talking to that family, and he's like, oh, so they talked to you before you got seated. They've asked you questions. They've asked you these weird personal questions. So he is trying to be like, no, this guy's a fraud because he asked them all about these, their personal information before the show, and they were planted right there in front of the, up front to make it seem like it was a random just pick.
Yeah, getting to see how the sausage is made on those shows. Yeah, everything's kind of like everything is made to where he can guess it pretty easily. Yeah, the what was his name? Carmichael.
Carmichael Haig.
And he doesn't like Christo at all. That's the next the next segment is they bring in Carmichael to kind of like explain why it's not real and all that stuff. And Christo kind of feels, and this is where I'm like, man, this is kind of like messed up what Jack did. It was kind of like an attack on Christo wasn't expecting it at all. Like almost like an ambush, and he was obviously very, very offended. And then we kind of get the first weird thing that happens. He starts having like something's connecting to him, and but it's like forcefully like in his head, and he's having to say the things that he's saying. Let me see if I can find what he said in the first. Let's see. All right, so Christo. He brings out. He says the name Minnie. Minnie, and Minnie was what Jack. You find out that Jack called
was a nickname for Madeline.
Yeah, for his wife Madeline, and no one knew. It was a private nickname that no one else knew. So
I love this scene.
And then he starts spitting up this black liquid. He starts like blowing or vomiting this black liquid out.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and he's like clearly in pain, and they get him out of there, and he gets rushed away in the hospital.
He also says a man who is widowed who is wearing a ring.
Yeah. So and we find out that he was wearing his ring at the time. So and during the commercial, because they take Christo away to go to the hospital because he's clearly in pain and something's wrong. So he gets sent to the
His
hospital.
veins are popping out, and the acting by Joshua Brazi, I believe that's how you say it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. His face movements and the way he kind of contorts his face for this scene is fucking creepy.
Yeah, he really looks like it's a pretty good performance. He looks like he was genuinely in pain. And so he gets sent to the hospital, right? He goes to the hospital, and we have the clip of he's talking to Gus, and he's talking to the direct. I mean, not the director, the producer. What's his name?
Leo Fisk.
Yeah, he's talking to him, and he's like, we don't know what he's talking about, whatever. And you can see that Jack is kind of weirded out, and he's still a little freaked out about it. He's a little shaken up. But we go back to the show, and he started talking to Carmichael. He's like, dude, Carmichael, like, how do you explain that? He's like, well, that was like not real. And you can and Jack is kind of Carmichael's kind of a buzzkill. He's really
But the one thing I do love is that you kind of have to have that skeptic there because that he's a version of the audience where the audience is like, I don't believe that this stuff is happening. There are some people that do believe it's happening, but there are also a lot more skeptics out there than believers. So to have him balance off the kind of the weirdness we're seeing as, oh no, this was special effects, or Jack, I have a feeling you told Christo all of this stuff about you, about the mini nickname, about the fact that you're wearing your ring, because you're putting on a show. You're trying to boost your ratings, and you're trying to put on a show for the audience. And he even says, I'm not angry at that. You have to do what you have to do, but it's the fact that, like, you keep playing into these games and tricking the audience into thinking it's real.
Yeah. Because he's a former magician, he kind of has a snobbery of like you're cheating these people, you're cheating people. This you're a
even though he did the exact same thing as well.
Yeah. But as we go on to like the next thing, which we're introduced to Laura Gordon playing June Ross Mitchell. And she's bringing in Lily, and they're gonna talk about what happened to her, basically. And
she's there to promote her book, Conversations with the Devil.
Yeah, she has. So it's kind of being like established that it's the doctor knows that she is possessed, is capitalizing on that. Capitalizing on the fact that this poor girl is possessed by the devil.
I don't think you're supposed to like anybody in this movie.
No, not really. Except Gus. Gus is great.
Except Gus.
Yeah, Gus is great. But yeah, they bring Lily on, and they're talking like we were mentioning earlier. Like this girl, the actress who plays her is fantastic, because she's
so good.
Freaked out by this girl from the minute she walks on screen.
I love the fact that she's introduced and she walks to the dead center of the stage and just kind of smiles for a minute. And then they're like, Jack has to be like, all right, Lily, come on. And, it's okay to come in and sit down, because she takes so long just kind of center stage.
I was sitting there like, she's eating this up. She's loving this.
Oh, yeah.
Every minute of it. But we're also we find out that Jack seems to have some kind of relationship with Dr. June Ross Mitchell.
Because early on when they're talking, she tells Jack, "Oh yeah, Dr. June keeps saying you're handsome, Jack."
Yeah, and it's really uncomfortable and off-putting when you're saying this. You're like, "Oh, okay," and then goes to the break, and they have that scene where they're
getting kind of close.
They're really close, but they are arguing, and it's because Dr. Mitchell does not feel like it's a good idea to do what they're going to do, and to not to have a conversation, not to bring it out. but Jack pushes it and pushes it and pushes it, and that's that. We're starting to see like, okay, this guy's willing to do whatever it takes. And at first, you're like, maybe it's not that big a deal, but you've already had someone die on your like freak out, and then you find out later that he died on the way, which is why I don't like that. Why I didn't like.
Oh,
that.
really? I thought that was natural. I thought it was just like I thought that was the point of it, was that Jack did not care about Christo to the point where when he found out he died, he didn't have a moment to kind of be like, what the fuck is going on? He had to go and rush back to stage. So it was happening all fast.
That all makes sense to me. I'm talking about the way that it was executed with the whole, like, with them announcing to him, like, hey, Christo died. Like, I feel like I would have liked it better if he would have died on screen. That'd have been a little crazier. Like, he would have, like, had this, like.
To be fair, though, if you have a death on the scene, the TV show would be over. The episode would be over, and you would be canceled immediately.
Yeah, that's fair. And
so this is a way they can kind of be like, oh, well, he got sick or something else happened, but he died on the way to the hospital instead of dying in front of all these people.
And that's where I'll say maybe it is brought down a little bit by the format of that. It is a television show, and so like, obviously the television show has to continue. But that's still not an excuse for that scene for me. And like, it's just for me. That scene still felt like hollow and not like just like dropping it in a kind of line, a throwaway line. That's
fair.
That's where I was like, okay, like then we just kind of moved on.
Me personally, though, I see what they were trying to do, where it's like, again, when you're backstage, you only have 2 minutes for commercial. You're trying to get to so many places, and you have to deal with, him arguing with June about what to do. So then when someone is rushing and they're like, oh, hey, he died, that's what would happen on a TV set, because you can't stop, especially when it's a live show. If it's edited, then you can have a lot more time, because it's a live late night show where anything can happen. They're constantly rushing backstage that they don't have a moment to stop.
Yeah, and as someone who like hates commercials, and I feel like commercials are excruciatingly long, like in this moment, like you feel how like fast that moment moves. Moments move. How like it probably doesn't even feel like you got a break.
No, not at all.
Going, so you definitely feel that. You feel that urgency throughout.
Yeah, I love the scene where they do the exorcism.
Let's get to the exorcism.
Where we meet, what you call it, Mr. Wiggles?
Let me see if it's here on the thing. Yeah, Mr. Wriggles.
Mr. Wriggles.
Mr. Wriggles.
Yeah. I love the transformation of, like, because you saw in the trailer, like, she goes from this kind of young girl to this kind of demon, and her face looks like her hair is parted one way, so you can't tell, but it's like her other half of her face is like completely taken over.
Yeah, it completely like kind of changes. It changes shape. Shit's a lot. Features are a lot more sharper, and she's like.
Her voice is deeper.
Yeah, the voice changes. So like, it really is like a complete physical transformation, because the way she's also moving, and like when she's first being conjured, and like the cracking and all that, like it was nuts. Like it really was freaky, and all kudos.
This reminded me a lot of Abigail, not the same movie, but the idea of, like, we see this little girl in Abigail, and we get to spend time with her as a little girl. But then when she becomes the vampire, it starts becoming more fun, and the transformation is more fun, because the demon has a lot of funny lines. Like, Jack and June went up the hill to fuck each other's brains out.
Yeah. Yeah, the demon is pretty ruthless in this.
She thinks you're handsome, Jack.
Yeah, dude, it's so creepy, man. Like it really is. Like it's insane.
Dude,
the actress Ingrid Torelli, like, fantastic job.
So
I hope to see her in more roles, because this was a great introduction, at least for her, for me to her. But yeah,
I love the live audience's reaction, because they start off kind of laughing, but then the moment she turns her head and looks at the audience and her face is completely different, you hear hushed silence and like some people gasping in the audience because they weren't expecting this.
Yeah, so like when she after she becomes, or I guess conjures the demon like causes her to levitate in her chair, causes her in her chair to levitate, and also like makes the electricity go crazy. But then also like in like while she's possessed, the demon makes like a reference to and tells Jack that they met under the tall trees.
Yep.
So that's where you're kind of like, there's another little thing where you're like, that's weird, and it's kind of hinting at something. And
I'll say, I kind of think you were supposed to like Jack. I mean, yeah, he's someone who
yeah,
will
you're
do
just like
anything
Jack.
to
You
get-
do like Jack at first, for sure.
and then the ending, and you're like, no, you're an asshole.
Yeah, you suck. Like you're just like you gradually start to find out like they're just like the rest. I think when he screws over, and it's not even really like screwing him over, but he does. Well, yeah, when he screws over Gus and makes him like, Gus wants to leave. Gus is not having fun. He's not comfortable. He wants to be out of there, and he makes him stay and do this thing with Carmichael, the hypnotizing, and that's
a great scene.
That's where I turned on Jack. Where I was like, no, you suck. Like Gus, like y'all seem to have a really nice, like very good relationship, and Gus like literally tells him like, I am quitting. I will quit. I don't want to do this.
I think the reason why that scene doesn't bother me as much is because Jack doesn't believe anything will happen.
Mm-hmm.
He still has that skeptic mindset of like, well, no, like yeah, he's gonna get hypnotized, but nothing's gonna happen. Like, not like he's not gonna freak out. Nothing's gonna happen. It's all gonna be for a joke. Which, I mean, yeah, you do have that in like
for a joke, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's the fact that the reason why it makes me turn on Jack is because they do feel like they have a very friendly relationship, and when he's setting like a clear boundary of like, I'm not doing this, I'm not comfortable, and like he still like makes him do it, when like I think he fires him, right? Like he
no he doesn't fire him.
Okay, I know there's something where like it's very very like he's just kind of cold towards him.
I think because of the frantic nature of backstage and the pace of this movie. Again, I've seen people like this before where it's like, I don't have time to be nice. Like we are in the middle of a live show. We've got to go. We have got to do something because, one, we're losing our ratings. Two, we have an audience full of people out there who are wanting a show, like they paid their hard-earned money for a show. And being a theater kid who has been backstage and has seen the shit that goes on, you don't have time to breathe. You're constantly running back and forth. So there are moments where you're not going to be nice to people. You're going to be like, hey, we have a show to do. We got to go out. People paid their money to see us. The show must go on. Yeah. It does make him kind of a dick, but I didn't turn on him at that point. The ending, I did turn on him.
Well, like that was also where I was starting to like kind of tell like, oh, you're willing to do a lot to keep what you have. You're desperate. You're in a constant state of desperation, and you're being told basically every break that you're gonna get canceled.
Yeah, that was I think more of what's his name? Hold on. More of Leo Leo was more of the asshole, in my opinion. He was someone who really didn't care. You could tell that.
Well, he immediately he's a producer. He's clearly like the stereotypical producer of it doesn't matter. Like he's the first one that's kind of like blasé about Christo, about the news about Christo. He just whatever.
I didn't turn on Jack at this point because I understand what it's like. When you're backstage, you can feel like an asshole because you're trying to get the show done.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the film, where you realize what he did, which at the beginning of the film they do say that he was trying everything he can to make sure he gets his ratings up, and this was the last time that he was able to, because if this show failed, he was going to get canceled because you know the seasonal cuts were coming.
Yeah.
But the end of the movie, is where I turned on Jack as a character, and I think that was the point. The point of the movie was to show that, like, yeah, he's not a great guy, but in the middle of the movie, when you're backstage, a lot of shit can happen, and that I don't blame him for having to kind of go to multiple different places, and he may act like an asshole. I understand that, like, Gus didn't want this, but Gus had a job. They were in the middle of the show, so he can't just walk out, because then you don't have a show without him.
Yeah.
So, like, Jack just couldn't take the time to actually explain to him why he needed him to stay. It was just like, no, I need you to stay, because we don't. If you don't, we don't have a show.
Yeah. Well, the what kind of like what with the line from Lily when she's the demon, when she says like we met under the tall trees, that was where I kind of had to like, oh damn, did he do
something's up?
Did he do a deal? Was there a deal? And that's why I think at that point I started realizing like, oh shit, he sacrificed his wife. To that, even though like it was way before that, but that's just where my mind immediately jumped to. So
see,
by
my
the
mind
time we get to
didn't go there.
By the time we get to the scene where Jack makes Gus get hypnotized, I'm already like, oh, you suck.
See, my mind didn't go that he sacrificed his wife. My mind immediately went to, oh, the demon's just fucking with him. I thought it was like, oh, hi, Jack, we meet again, to kind of get in Jack's head to be like, oh, yeah, we've met before. But maybe it was like a demon trick. That's where I went the first time.
Okay, yeah. See, and that's perfectly fine, because I think that's probably what you want to think. I just immediately went to, he's
way smarter than I am.
He sold the soul. That's immediately where I went to.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go and get to the hypnotizing scene, because we've already.
Oh, this scene is so good.
We've kind of touched on it, and this is my favorite scene of the movie.
This is my second favorite scene, because I love the transformation of Lily. I think that's one of the best scenes in the movie.
We might just swap ours, but this scene is my favorite scene, and it's where Carmichael basically wants to say is basically going to say that whole transformation that wasn't real. She hypnotized the audience, and I'll show you. I'll hypnotize Gus, and so he hypnotizes Gus. And asks Gus what he's afraid of, and Gus says that he's terrified of worms, which I don't blame him. Worms are gross. And dude, out of nowhere, he tells him I forgot what he's saying, but somehow he gets him to cut open his belly, and out all these worms come.
Oh, it's so good. It's so disturbing.
Yeah, it's so and the camera stays on it. It stays on it completely. Mm-hmm. And then it shows the worms coming out, and then it cuts to his face, and out of nowhere, this worm starts coming out of his eyeball.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's all practical. It's all fantastic. Mm-hmm. I loved every minute of it. That's my favorite scene of the movie. And then you find out, because everyone's horrified. They're like, what the? I'm really like, oh my God. I think I was sitting on the couch, and I was like, they just killed Gus. Like, what the fuck? And then, no, he's perfectly fine. Carmichael reveals that he actually hypnotized the entire audience, and says that in order to tell, you have to go back and look at the old footage. And they look at the old footage, and lo and behold, it was completely not real. He was hypnotized.
Oh, it's so good.
And it made Gus look dumb, and that's why Gus was really upset after this moment, because he's like, dude, that was embarrassing. It's on television, everyone saw that, and in that moment you completely sympathize with him, and just empathize with him. You're just like, dude, that can't even imagine that feeling. Yeah,
that's the moment where I slowly started to turn on Jack. I was like, okay, embarrassing your
because Jack is it's great for television. It was great. Which again, like you said, you do kind of also understand, you understand the
how desperate he is.
He's desperate, he's willing to, and if that got people into it, and which that's compelling television.
It
as
is.
Much as we want to not admit it, we want to see people freak out on TV. Mm-hmm. And so then we move on to Carmichael tells them to rewind the footage of Lily's transformation, and they rewind it, and it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Originally. So obviously, she did not hypnotize him. It's like he did, and he still is not allowing. He's not allowing himself to admit it, and it's that last skeptic where he's like, "I'm going to question everything," and then Lily loses it. She gets this crazy power, and just starts attacking everybody with her telekinesis. What was it that caused it? Hold on, there was something that caused it.
Yeah, her head splits open and begins to glow with a bright light. Using her telekinetic power, she throws Jack into a wall and kills Gus, June, and Carmichael.
Yeah, so that whole like head ripping scene, like it's just like I loved how. That's where I like that craziness, that crazy. Just go nuts with your horror movie. Go like try and shock me and make me gross out or everything. Like do what you can, and I think they do a great job here. Yeah, she loses. She goes crazy, rips open her head, glowing light, and she breaks Gus's. Neck, turns his neck,
and he falls face first through the table, which is great.
Falls face first into the table. She kills Carmichael. She completely melts him, basically. Like he becomes nothing. And then I forgot how she killed June. Damn. But and then she has Jack, and he's all of a sudden transported to this like crazy version of the show where he's reliving he's reliving moments in the show's past, and then it shows Lily. He has this connection to Lily. He encountered it at this grove, which I immediately said like, oh, the Bohemian Grove. It's and so that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is all devil deal with it type of thing. For those who don't know, the Bohemian Grove is a rumored and theory of these elites that go into the forest and burn effigies and have these weird old style rituals. People have
I've never heard of this.
There's recordings. It's not it's very conspiracy driven. But I mean, there's compelling clips of someone who claimed to have snuck into the Bohemian Grove. There's clips of people being questioned about it and getting really defensive about it, like when they're asked about it. So it's really weird, but that's where they get this inspiration from. He even call it the Grove, and that's where you see that Jack had a dealing with his demon, and then he looks over, and you find out that Jack is actually responsible for Madeline getting sick and dying.
Yeah.
So that he could have his success with the Night Owls. The success of Night Owls. Madeline confronts him as sick, clearly at the end of her life, and begs Jack to put her out of her misery, as the cancer is causing too much pain. He takes the ritual dagger and stabs.
The same one that Lily.
He stabs his wife, and then it's revealed that he stabbed Lily on camera in front of everybody, and that's the end of the movie.
And you hear police sirens in the background.
Yeah, you hear police sirens.
My question: if after this movie, does Jack go to jail?
100%, because you're gonna see. But in the camera footage, you would see that he was hypnotized.
So did Lily really kill those people on camera? Because if so, they could say that Jack killed Lily in self-defense.
That too. I don't know.
If it's shown on camera as not a hypnotized scene, and it's on camera shows Lily killing Carmichael, June, and Gus, then you could claim it's self-defense. But if he was hypnotized and he killed all 3 of them on stage, then yeah, he would be going to jail. I like the idea that there's multiple endings with you can think of with this ending of the movie.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like thinking about it because it's making me not want, making me not like it. But I love that ending. That ending, it's so like you feel. It's another one of those endings where you feel down.
Yeah,
This is not a good ending for anybody. It's kind of similar to that feeling that you got at the end of of Where Evil Lurks,
or Midsommar,
or Midsommar.
where you're like, oh yeah, she's the May Queen, but she is part of a cult now.
Yeah, it's a great ending. I love the ending for sure.
I do too.
I think I had just that one problem with the movie, and that's about it though. But other than that, man, the script is tight, performances are great, and I genuinely did not know. Even though I kind of like guessed the whole like demon thing, like where he made a deal with the devil, I wasn't expecting the ending where he ended up like killing Lily on TV and all that stuff. I didn't know how it was gonna end. So I love it. I love this movie a lot. I think I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I did enjoy it a lot. Actually, let me make sure.
Yeah,
I'm giving it a 5.
I would give it 4.5. I think I really enjoyed this movie.
Let me make sure. But let's go in while we're doing that. Let's go ahead and look at the. You want to go ahead and give your final thoughts on the movie? Also.
Yeah, I think this movie is very unique. I think it's funny in moments. It's scary in a lot of moments. It's a very fast-paced movie, so you never have downtime to look away from the screen. The performances are incredible. Yeah, 4.5 for me. This movie has a 97 critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't know what the audience score is.
The audience score is 81. So the audience score is not as high on this movie as the critics. I would lean, surprisingly, I think I'd lean, I'm probably in that 90 to like 85 to 90 area is where I'm at.
I'm probably around 85 to 90 myself.
Great movie, great start to at least for my year of horror because I haven't watched anything else besides this.
Yes. All right, so next week's movies. Go ahead and tell them what we're doing next week, Alec.
So we're gonna take a break on the 2024 films, but we're gonna go to what was just announced in 2024, which is we are getting a horror cinematic universe that started with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and then we have a sequel. So these next 2 weeks will be our introduction.
Pooniverse.
To the Pooniverse. The first 2 films in it, and it'll be fun to follow these films as they come out. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about Bambi: The Reckoning.
I personally have when it was announced, I haven't seen these 2 films yet, so these will be first time watches. I think I got like halfway through Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, but just fell asleep because I was late. So
it's also not that good of a film.
Yeah, it's not, but I am at least excited about the idea of what they're doing. It could go horribly wrong.
I'm really excited for some of their films. Like I think Peter Pan, Neverland Nightmare could be a great. You could do some crazy stuff in that. I'm really excited to see what they do with Bambi: The Reckoning.
Yeah,
they have a trailer. The trailer's out there already. I think the CGI for Bambi looks actually pretty decent for the budget they had.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And we'll start our dive into the Pooniverse.
This is from Jagged Edge Studios, which, if you guys didn't know, John Marr, who also runs Why We Love Horror and Why We Love Horror Trivia, he has a show on his channel called John Versus, where he's looking at all of the Jagged Edge films.
Bad ones.
So there are some very bad ones. I was actually on an episode where we talked about the Legend of Jack and Jill, which was really bad. But I know he's not getting to Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and Blood and Honey 2 for a little bit. So we're going to talk about it here. And then if John wants to come on and talk about it with us, maybe we can get him on to talk about it next week.
That'd be fun. We definitely reach out to him. All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and head out. You can find me on Twitter at AlecMiller0423. That's where you'll kind of find all my stuff. And Hunter, go ahead and let them know where they can find you, man.
Right here at Welcome to Prime Time, also at Nerd Entertainment Network, where right here on Prime Time we have Welcome to Prime Time, the podcast, which is coming back very soon because Chad and Carrie, my co-hosts, are back from vacation, so we're going to shoot a lot of episodes. We've got the horror bracket of each decade coming up. We have the 80s part 2, then we're going to do the 70s and the 60s, or 60s and the classics. So we're almost done with that to determine the best horror film of all time. And then over on Nerd Entertainment Network, we have the Week of Wrestling, we have movie reviews, and a lot of trivia stuff. So if you guys are interested, please hit the like button and subscribe to both those channels. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. Stay scared.